Are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Bunker Office Hours, a weekly live show brought to you by the team at Bunker Labs, a national network of veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs dedicated to helping the military connected community start their own business. I'm your host, Iron Mike Stedman, joined by my co-hosts for today, Carrie Sue, as well as our special guest, Sheila Cohen. What's going on, Carrie and Sheila?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're great to have you here. We're going to introduce you here in a second, but before we do that, we got to let the community know what's going on over the next few weeks. So, Carrie, take it away.
Yeah, we've actually got 3 events this week. We have one in Wilmington on September 29th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got 2 happening on September 30th. One is in Houston and one is in Bozeman. They start between 5 and 5:30 local time. So if you are interested in signing up for those, you can find all of those in our chapters.bunkerlabs.org/events.
And I think it's important to note, we just got back from the staff retreat. So did a lot of great planning, trying to get all excited for you all. But also want to make sure that you're aware that we've pushed the VIR applications. We've extended them until October 8th. So really, VIR is our flagship program. I came through it. I'm a VIR OG. So make sure you're getting the word out there and encouraging people to apply. And if you think there's somebody that you know personally that can benefit from applying and being a part of the Veterans and Residents program, just go ahead and tag them in this post. We'll be sure to include the link as well. So let's get the word out. This is a great program. And the only way we're able to have programs like this is getting people out there to participate and make sure they're taking advantage of it.
Awesome. So, and I will drop that in the chat as well for everyone.
Thanks, Carrie. So without further ado, I get to introduce Sheila Cohen, CEO and founder of Veterans Evolutionary Housing of Nevada, all the way out on the West Coast. She's worked with nonprofits for 10 years and was a realtor for 14 years. Housing is her passion, and her whole focus is getting homeless veterans off the streets in all 50 states. She's currently a VIR member in the Las Vegas cohort. So Sheila, welcome to Office Hours.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
Now, I know I just gave an overview of who you are and what your background is, but in case I missed something, feel free to go ahead and address our audience and let them know about what you're working on out in Nevada.
Sure. I have been working as a nonprofit for the last 4 years. And it all started when I met a 100% disabled Marine in California who was running an organization called Vets 365. And that was an organization that helped with resources for veterans that have left the military, transitioned. Now, I helped him for 3 years, and I decided to pivot my business, especially because of the COVID going around, and do just housing. So like Mike said, I have been a realtor for 14 years, and housing is my passion. I do believe that everybody is entitled to have housing, regardless of what it's made of, okay? And, I've thought of ways to convert buses. I've thought of ways to, I've seen how the container homes have been converted and motels have been converted. This is just another takeoff from that. We have tiny, affordable homes that people with minimum wage jobs could afford to live in. And that's all I'm doing this year. We want it to be a permanent home for these folks. And we're going to try to get our homeless veterans off the streets first, and then we're going to open this up nationally and offer it to all homeless.
How many veterans have you worked with thus far? And what are you seeing out there in the streets? It's been a challenging year with the pandemic, and then you add on the Afghanistan withdrawal. And so there's a lot of conversation about mental health within the veteran community. And we know how hard that can hit those that are already on the fringes of society. So if you wouldn't mind sharing more insight into what you're seeing at the ground level, we'd really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. I do have someone that goes out every week and feeds our homeless veterans that are living in the streets in the city of Las Vegas specifically. And he's my eyes and ears for what they need out there. At the end of 2020, there was 7,000 homeless in the city of Las Vegas, and of that, 10% were veterans. And I've seen them on the streets. I've talked to them. They call me all the time and say, I need housing. So therefore, I probably take 2 calls a week from homeless veterans. They find out about us from different sources. And I do everything I can to get them something temporary if that's what we have to do, to put them into housing. So we, are very aware of what their needs are. We want to also help them get a job. We've actually partnered with Amazon so that we can get our homeless veterans jobs in the fulfillment centers, in the warehouses. And, it's going to be a full package. We're going to help them feel like they're back in society and that they can function. And with the permanent housing, they don't have to move. As long as they're, earning a living and can pay the bills, they can stay.
Talk to us about your experience thus far trying to get this off the ground. Do you feel like you've been swimming an upstream battle? Is there a lot of support out there for it? And how you're using veterans and residents to accelerate you on your journey?
All right. It has been an upstream battle. I have to say that. I know a lot about land because I was a realtor, but finding land in Nevada is somewhat difficult. So what I have been doing is basically talking to other organizations that are doing the same thing that we're doing. They've got the same mission. They've got the same plans, and we're going to combine together and start our first housing village out in Pahrump, Nevada, where there is an abundance of land. The other thing I do is I talk to a lot of our legislators. I talk to Congress. I talk to our councilmen and women, and try to educate them, although they're aware of the situation, tell them more about, what we're doing and trying to get them to back us up and help us with that. As far as the cohort goes, I'm there every week. I absolutely love it. We do a lot of problem solving in our Las Vegas cohort, and we are sharing with each other every week our issues and our successes. And I really like the fact that they have helped me and connected me with other people that is moving us forward.
One of the things me and you were talking about in the pre-interview is we're both in the nonprofit space. So I run Ironbound Boxing. You're fighting the fight with veteran homelessness. And obviously the nonprofit space can be very challenging. And, talk to us about some of your successes. Where have you feel like you've made the most progress?
Yeah, I had to pivot several times with my business over the last 4 years. We have a big following in California, and that's where we started with Vets 365, and then I turned around and opened up Veterans Evolutionary Housing. So pivoting has been, for me, the right thing to do. Reacting to the pandemic and the fact that we did not get the support that we used to get for our programs. We've had to change up what we do. We offered education to anybody that had lost their job during the pandemic. And then I pivoted again and just decided to just do housing. I've got some amazing board members that have put together this plan for our affordable homes, and we are going to make it happen. I hope to be the first ones out here in Nevada to put up a tiny village home, but we've made a lot of progress, and I enjoy talking to people, and I'll explain our program to anybody and ask for their support. We just need that.
From the community standpoint, what are some ways that, we can help you, or what are you looking for?
From the community standpoint, we're definitely looking for, and I have been talking to people that can can donate their skills and their time and volunteer to help us get these affordable homes built. They're very simple, but still very, contained so that people can, live there permanently. So once we get our land and we're ready to put a shovel in the land, we are going to need the community to come forward and help us build and get our village set up.
How much money are you looking to raise in order to make it happen?
Yeah, the funds that we are looking at is right now it's like $25,000 per dorm, which is a fully functional affordable home per veteran. That includes the land and everything inside the home. Corporate wise, we're looking for $150,000 donation. We want to have maybe 400 homes built in the next year. And we've been talking about building thousands. We're just looking at the fact that there's the eviction moratoriums coming up again, and there's going to be a lot of problems out there with housing. And I want to solve it. So,
going back to the fact that we're both in the nonprofit space, some of the advice I was giving Sheila before we jumped on is, when we're first starting out in these kind of ventures, right? We all have these grand ambitions of changing the world. And one of the things is for early stage ventures, whether you're a nonprofit or for-profit, getting that initial traction. And I was telling Sheila, find those business owners in the local community that can see the problem firsthand. That way you're going in there and you're talking to them and you're not swimming upstream, and really getting them to invest and support the cause. That's one of the things I found here locally in Newark with Ironbound Boxing. Before the pandemic, Sheila, I was meeting with the pizza owner, at the local shop, just some small businesses around town. And there was some real buy-in. And what I found was that was super helpful for us early on. And you don't forget those people when you start to get a little bit of the bigger donors. And then the other thing I was telling Sheila too was, when you're fundraising, don't be afraid to productize it a bit with some kind of letter of intent. So a document that you can say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to be able to accomplish with your help, be able to do X, Y, and Z. And then set a number on that LOI, saying, hey, we're asking for $10,000, $20,000. And then you start to kind of work your way around and shop that thing around. And you'll be amazed with all the progress that happens, because it's funny because it's going to tie into our book. My book recommendation today, Sheila, is when we're starting out, I feel like we have all these ideas that we want to do, but just like, how are we staying focused? How are you staying focused on the task at hand? Like, what do you feel like as the CEO of your company what is the most important thing for you to do to bring this to life?
Yeah, that is so true. I think about this every single day. And, I found that getting the right board members and people surrounding me that have the skill sets that I don't have are moving us forward, as well as, some of the looking at the bigger picture of what Veterans Evolutionary Housing is going to accomplish. And I keep that in mind all the time. Is this where I'm talking about a book?
Oh, you can go ahead, share your book.
Yeah. One of my favorite books is Onward by Howard Schultz. And this is, if you think about it, you remember when Starbucks first started, and it was popping up all over the country, and it was like on every corner. And they survived, they flourished for quite a while, and then all of a sudden they started closing down some of those coffee shops. And I found it very interesting, the thought behind it, and why they had to, kind of pull the reins back in. They were getting a little bit too big. And now, how they handled the stores during the COVID and the fact that they're back open again. It's just something that I like to follow is how somebody progresses through these struggles and comes out on the other end.
Yeah, it's funny you mention it right here, Starbucks, right? And I was up super early this morning. That line at Starbucks was booming.
Yeah.
So like, talk about, I don't want to say product market fit, but they definitely found the demand for their services.
Yes. And I'm one of them.
And I think my recommendation is going to help you too, Sheila, and everyone tuning in. And my book recommendation for the week is Radical Focus by Christina Waukee. How to achieve your most important goals with objectives and key results. So I'm just coming off of my quarterly coaching event with the Lions Pride, and I had a chance to actually meet Christina Waukee via Zoom. She presented to our group. And the thing I learned the most about this is, one of the biggest implementers that has let me rephrase this. Sorry. One of the things that's achieved that I create a lot of success to is quarterly planning. Yeah. That's really kind of skyrocketed my for-profit and nonprofit. And, OKRs is a tool that you use to really set your objective for each quarter and then measure quantitatively whether or not you're achieving those objectives with key results. And throughout the book, Sheila, it kind of starts off with a fable of a tech startup called TP, which sells tea. And she goes through how they were struggling startup, and then they started to implement the OKR process that she describes in this book and achieved radical success. And she goes over the different frameworks in the book. And I actually wrote a blog post on it, a newsletter post today for the transition on it, but a really, really great book. And the biggest takeaway I'll tell y'all out there is when you're doing quarterly planning, especially when we're in the early stages, we try to start too wide, right? We start to try to set 3 to 5 goals that we want to accomplish over the course of the quarter. And one thing she emphasizes is focus on one. What's the one quarterly objective that you can set that's going to drive the most growth in your venture? For a lot of early stage founders out there, that quarterly objective might be just, onboarding your initial beta customers at a particular price point. If you're a nonprofit, it might be, getting that first grant, and then you start to work your way back. So really, really highly recommend this book. Again, I do a little bit more of a detailed explanation of the OKR process on the transition newsletter, which I'll include in the link after. But really want to encourage you all to check it out. And my hope is actually go over OKRs on the podcast. So I've done one before, but I want to update it after reading this book and trying to become a little bit of an OKR ninja. So looking forward to that. Now, before I plug our sponsors for today, Sheila, is there any closing remarks or final words you'd like to leave with our listeners so we can support you and all that you're doing out in Nevada?
Yes. Thank you, Mike. I just wanted to say that I am looking for people that have the same mission and the same passion that I do about homeless veterans. And I ask you to just connect with me after this and join in the fight that we are doing to make this right for our veterans. Funding always helps, but we need people that are going to be in the forefront of this battle that we are doing. And I'm just going to say, I'm not going to stop until we get this going. And you're going to eventually see us all over the nation. So please reach out to me. It'll be provided in the chat area. And please think about helping us out with our mission and making this happen. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Sheila, thanks for being here on this session of Office Hours. And y'all heard her. The only way we rise is to rise together. So make sure if you come across someone that you can feel support her mission, tag them in this post, or reach out to Sheila directly. And I'd like to go ahead and acknowledge our sponsors for Office Hours and the transition, the MetLife Foundation and the Garnet Foundation. The MetLife Foundation is committed to supporting veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs. In addition, the foundation also provides mentorship and financial health resources to veterans and military spouses transitioning into the workforce. A Community Thrives is a program funded by the Garnet Foundation and is part of the USA Today network, which invests in community building initiatives across the country with the goal of creating positive change through service to historically marginalized or under-resourced groups. Thank you, MetLife and Garnet. And everyone, make sure you're checking out the Transition Podcast. We're dropping a lot of exciting content for you on there. Everything from how to build a world-class pitch deck. I've done an episode on how to build a world-class brand, while also getting great interviews from around the bunker community with entrepreneurs who are willing to take off their armor for you all so that you don't make a lot of the same mistakes that we're making in our venture. So be sure to check out the Transition Podcast. Again, I got a newsletter for it that is going to be dropped in the chat. But if you would humbly leave us a review for that podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast hosting platform, we greatly appreciate it. Make sure you get plugged into the Bunker Labs community by visiting bunkerlabs.org if you haven't done so already. From there, get connected at Bunker Online, where you can learn about our many different programs designed to support your entrepreneurial journey. We have programs that will take you from idea to invoice, incubate you, and position you to grow alongside other founders, CEOs. Learn more at bunkerlabs.org. Sheila, again, thanks for joining us today. Until next week, everyone, peace, love, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.